We're joined by ABC News contributor Brian Buckmire, host of the Law and Crime Network. Thanks so much for joining us in person here, Brian. So I've been asking everybody the same question. Was this the reaction, the verdict that you were expecting?
Kind of yes and no. The lawyer in me expected it. The lawyer in me knows the laws, the facts, how it all fit. But the man inside of me was skeptical because we've been here before where there was an officer who we expected to be convicted but didn't. So there was a bit of reservation, but when the verdict came out, it fit what my mind and my legal expertise expected.
You and I were discussing this earlier. You talked about how there was a lot of paperwork. What do you think was the difficult aspect, and were you surprised that it took just over 10 hours to come to the verdict?
Yeah, there was a lot for the jury to dig into, and when we were talking about this, we talked about the fact that no one goes to jury school to understand how the facts and the law should come together, and the terminology, substantial force, intervening factor, and so for that, I thought it might take some time, and so I was a little bit surprised that we're here today talking about a verdict. I would have expected tomorrow, or maybe even the day after. And
there were more than a dozen complaints against Derek Chauvin. The prosecution was very clear at the outset to say that this is not the state versus police. But do you think does the Minneapolis Police Department get a pass here as far as continuing to keep him on despite all of these articles against him?
So I think the prosecution did a smart and strategic job of kind of parsing through what they wanted to argue and what they didn't want to take on. Taking on the entire Minneapolis Police Department is a hard task to do. So they made it very narrow and only took on Derek Chauvin. But I don't think this gives them a pass. And it's something that Eric Nelson said, that the reasonable officer wouldn't do this in broad daylight. The reasonable officer wouldn't do this with so many cameras on them. But Derek Chauvin did that. And I think he did that because he believed he could get away from this. He could get away from doing this to George Floyd, and I think that's what we really have to attack. Why did Derek Chauvin believe he could do this in broad daylight with so many witnesses, so many cameras? That's the systemic racism. That's the systemic problem that needs to be addressed.
History shows, though, that it is difficult to charge and convict police officers. Do you feel in any way that this case changes that?
I think it does change to some degree because now we have a model. Now we have an example that we can point to and say, this is egregious police brutality that we will convict of a top count, not just manslaughter, but murder. And I think that's going to help prosecutors, find the roadmap to getting that conviction. I think it's very similar to what we saw with Harvey Weinstein, where it was hard to get someone convicted of a crime if an individual didn't report right away. Now there's a roadmap. Now there's an understanding. This is criminal. This is not. And this will get you convicted for murder.
Brian Buckmire, it's been a privilege to have you holding our hands along throughout this entire trial.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.